The regular design review board meeting of the City of Milton. I am Laura Wysong, the chairperson, and Charlie Roberts, who's the vice chairperson of this committee. It is a 7-member board appointed by the City of Milton, Mayor, and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations. Design Review Board reviews plans and makes recommendations to the Community Development Director for developments, except for single-family residential in the form-based code and overlay districts. In addition, the Design Review Board approves or denies the demolition requests and makes recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeal on variances. So I am calling to order the Design Review Board for December 7th, 2021. First off, if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I would first like to introduce our city staff and board members. So could our city staff please introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm Shubha Jangam, Senior Planner at City of Milton.
Robin McDonald, zoning manager.
Reed Casey, Bethany Road.
Charlie Roberts, Freemanville Road.
Laura Wysong, Crooked Creek.
Jeff Dufresne, Summit Road.
Lee Collins, Westbrook Road.
Beniquas Palmer, Canterbury on the Lake.
Great. So our first item on the agenda is we need to approve actually this evening's agenda. So first of all, I'll ask our staff, do we have any modifications to the agenda?
No, but we have just a public comment, general public comment.
Okay, I'll do that after we approve our meeting minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so if I could get a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
I move to approve the minutes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next order of business is to approve our November 2nd, 2021 meeting minutes. Could somebody please make a motion? Well, first let me ask, are there any modifications to the meeting minutes? Anyone from the board, any changes? Okay, I think we're good. All right, so if somebody could please make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the November 2nd meeting minutes.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, and I'll go ahead and open up for public comment. If you could please step forward. Laura. Hey.
Laura Bentley, 2500 Bethany Church Road. I'm here today. I know you have a hefty agenda in front of you, so I'm here to express my gratitude to each of you for your service here on the Design Review Board. As I come to the end of my term, I wanted you all to know how useful your hearings have been. I've watched most of them, and I know that sounds so lame, but each of you have a great deal of expertise, and it is not lost on me the time that you spend here month after month for the betterment of our city. So thank you, Laura, for your huge impact to the plan, the comp plan. Thank you, Charlie, for standing in during a pandemic when Laura couldn't be here. And thank you all. I can't think of a committee or commission who has more impact on the way that Milton looks and feels than the Design Review Board. And I want to encourage you to stay involved as things go forward in the Highway 9 corridor and Arnold Mill. Your influence will be tremendous. I also want to thank specifically my appointee, Beniquas Palmer. I remember our interview, and I had heard you also watched meetings online just for fun. So I knew we had that in common. So thank you very much for saying yes and for being here for 4 years on my behalf. I've learned a lot from you. And the final thing I want to leave with you is I guess most of y'all know I'm into the horses, and I always give a workhorse award, and I'd like to leave this with you, Beniquas. It's in honor, it's an old rusty horseshoe, which probably, it means a lot to me because there's only a limited number, because it went on a horse that I loved dearly. Her name was My Alibi, and she loved her work. She was always cheerful, and she always made me look good. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Thank you, Laura, for your service. We will miss you. Sorry, I've got a broken. This is not working. We'll see how this goes. Sorry about that. All right. All right. First item on our agenda is we've got a couple of demolition reviews. So the first demolition review is for 14400 Hopewell Road. If the applicant could please come forward, please state your name and address and tell us about your project or your demolition, excuse me.
Good evening, everybody. This is Cameron Jalali at 1005 Chasewood Trail, Alfredo, 30005. The job address, as you mentioned, is 14400 Hopewell Road, and that's an older house, maybe 70, 80 years old, that we are demolishing and building a new single family instead. That's going to be a beautiful house. I do have the elevation if you need to take a look at it. And it's 2.25 acre of property that we are building this new house on.
Does anyone want to see the elevations for the soon-to-be built property? Nope, you're good. I think we're good. Any questions for the applicant?
Looks like it may have a other building on the property, but it's just a square on here. I just want to make sure you don't have to come back for an additional demo for any other structures on the property that you're not already requesting.
That's the only building. The other one probably is showing there is a shelter. It's just structure, small structure.
Any other questions from the board? Okay.
Lee? Talk to us.
Is there any public?
Any public comment?
No.
Okay. So I think we are ready to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the demo for 14400 Hopewell Road.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Good luck.
thank you.
Right. Our second demolition for this evening is 12900 Arnold Mill Road. If the applicant could come forward, please state your name and address.
Yes, good evening. My name is Mike Doyle with JK Lockwood Construction, and I'm up here on behalf of, or the address is 12900 Arnold Mill Road. I'm up here on behalf of the Ebenezer Community Support Association. As part of the LDP, we have submitted the demo plans. There are actually two old kind of, they're really probably not that old, framed ranch houses, brick ranch houses. And there's actually 4 sheds. I see we missed one on the corner here, but there's 4 just little sheds, and we've got pictures of all of them kind of behind there. And then later on in the evening, we'll be presenting the building and the rest of the LDP, but this is just for the demolition of it,
Okay.
of these structures.
This is a great project. We've been following this for 3 years or so, and it's exciting later in the evening to get into the building that you're going to build. So I'll defer to my colleagues here, but if there's no comment, I would put a motion on the floor to approve 12900 Arnold Mill Road as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I think
you
you're
very
good
much.
on the demo. All right, we do have a few courtesy reviews this evening, and just to clarify courtesy reviews, these are items this board does not vote on, but we do provide comments to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So our input will be part of the record when they review these particular cases. So the first item under courtesy review is V21-25. The address is 810 Bethany Green Court. The two variances they're asking for is to allow the lot coverage for an R2-A zone property that fronts a public street to go from 20% to 28.7%. Also to allow the pool house in the rear setback 19 feet from the north property line. So if the applicant could please come forward, state your name and address, and talk to us about this particular project.
Hi, I'm Monique Walker from 810 Bethany Green Court in Milton. We are requesting two variances, the setback and also to increase the building percentage that's on the lot.
I have a question,
Sure.
and I don't know if any others have the same question, but there was a letter in here that was,
Bolton's on the northeast
Neighbor.
corner.
okay, so that was the name, yeah, because I couldn't find where these particular folks were
So basically the triangular lot, they're on the northeast
on that
corner
side.
to the right.
Okay, all right, yeah, I was trying to figure out exactly which lot that was. It sounds as if they're looking for a deferment of
Well-
this.
Well, the application is complete. At this time, we don't have a right, like a staff doesn't have any right to defer. It's a BZA's decision to defer it if they want to.
Got it. Okay, thank you for clarifying on that. And feel free to jump in with questions, but the other question I have is, when I actually pulled up the GIS satellite on this just to get a closer look, I'm very close to this neighborhood. I know this neighborhood really well. I have friends who live over there. So when I looked at the plan, to me, it seems where it's sitting, and after looking at satellite and looking at the property in a little more deeper dive, it just seems like there's other options for design to put this pool placement without having to go so far back on this side. Yeah, my concern is this is really close at the back of this property.
Sure.
And I agree with your letter. I don't like to not give folks access to a pool because Bethany Green's been there for a while. I mean, so it was way back in the old Fulton County days. So I'm always amenable to that because all these rules didn't exist and builders, never told people what they were
Right.
giving them for property lines. And things have changed. So, I'm always willing to look at what the options are to make it palatable so that the homeowner can find a good solution. I just think it seems like there could be a better solution here, but Charlie would love to hear anyone else's input on this.
One, we need to think about the deferment, but as you two, or as you three work on this, I agree with everything Laura said. And we've had a giant number of variance requests where people have bought houses and now they want variances. So we are looking at that harder every month the last year. how you could reduce the size of your encroachment would help BZA make it easier. If I look at your drawing here, it seems like there's a lot of pool deck and the pavers that maybe if that could be shortened and pull the pool up closer and save some of the room back there. And then the bathhouse maybe could be moved to the side where you could get back inside the buffer. For me, the bathhouse moving and pulling it up 3 to 5 feet, you're minimizing what you're asking for. I agree with Laura that we would like to support you in your desire to have a pool. But by the same token, if we do this for everybody, why do we have these rules?
Right.
And my two construction comments would be if you can pull this thing back and not have so much deck here, maybe with some deck on the sides and utilize all this paver area, that would help. And if the pool house cabana could go on the side, and maybe it even encroaches a few feet, but that would really make me feel better that you made those efforts and minimized what you're asking for.
May I speak to
Sure,
those
of
points?
course.
Okay. First, the pavers that you see. So we did those, so those could be, I don't know if it's pervious or impervious solutions because septic lines run there. So all of septic is running all through the space where those pavers are. In fact, we're having to relocate the septic lines already to where you see the pavers so we can at least, have this option to have a pool and also installing a pump to have the septic pump uphill. So that's the reason for the distance from, I guess, the amount of pavers that you see there. In terms of moving the pool house or cabana to the side of the yard there, yes, we would still need a variance for that. I'm not sure. We went through it, but we went through that option. That was our first option.
Yeah, and then one thing that we noticed that we were just going over a couple days ago is the elevation on this side is significant.
Mhm.
So it would be very, it'll be difficult to lift that up
On which side?
on that.
On
If you're
left or,
looking at
if
the
I'm looking
photo.
at the plan, which side? Right
If
or
you're
left?
looking at the plan, it would be the right side.
Okay.
East of the pool.
Let's see.
The side where you see the dining table,
Yeah,
the outdoor dining table.
And then,
Okay.
because
Oh,
we were
got
gonna
it.
put it there, but he was just saying the other day, it's already gonna be really high. I think it's 5 feet that we have to slope it. So we would have to, reinforce that cabana on that backside.
And the reason for choosing to put the pool in this location where it currently is, so this part of our law is unfinished, and all the neighbors around us, beside us, and Devonshire Farm Way, it's all unfinished too. So even though we're, having the variance, there's still approximately 140 feet from the end of the cabana to the other homes, not the property lines, but the homes. There's still 140 feet for one home and 150 feet for the other home. But the main reason is from where you enter our backyard, which would be to the left where you see the lawn up that way, there is a 20-foot slope from the gate to
That bottom property.
the
line.
bottom of the property. So there's a significant slope that really prohibits us from putting it anywhere else. Yeah.
So you couldn't move it like this way.
Yeah, I've been to this property before. You come off the driveway to the left and it significantly slopes down to kind of the back of the house. I'm sure that's part of the reason why they where they put the house, where they did.
Right.
But to turn it sideways, I mean, from what I know about it, it would be almost impossible.
Do it.
It would get way too close to the house and it would dig into that hill, it'd just be stuck with a big retaining wall and probably a mess. It's fairly sloped to the left.
Okay.
And I have also some renderings and things that may give you a better idea if you'd be interested in seeing those too.
Yeah.
If I can hand those to you.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that would be a good idea.
What are we going to do about the postponement and the request from somebody? And I didn't hear what, Shuba, what you said about the BZA is wanting to postpone it, or what's the facts on that?
Well, we have advertised and the application is complete, so we have them on the agenda. They have to go to the BZA. The BZA will look at it, and if they want to defer it, they can. I cannot defer.
Okay.
The letter was just put in there for the postponement of the BZA meeting, not tonight's
It was a
discussion.
request, right?
Okay.
So I guess while
Meaning
we're,
that one of the neighbors requested a
yeah,
postponement? Okay.
they did. So I guess my next question would be, is there any public comment?
Yeah.
We
We have 4. 2 of them will like to speak, and two of them have just written comments that I can read.
Okay. So why don't you read the first comments and then we'll have you guys just sit over here and then we'll have public comment so that we can hear that. We want to hear what
Sure.
neighbors have to say.
Okay.
So the first one is from Julie Freeman. She is in opposition of this item. She says, I am opposed to these variances due to the impact to my property and the charm of the Milton. Their address is 530 Devonshire Farm Way.
Said the last name is Freeman.
Yes.
It's the one directly to the back of the property.
The other one is 550 Devonshire Farms, and John and Ellen Dugan, and they just have a written comment. I have concern about the fence surrounding the pool. I feel it is not adequate for the pool as it is shown here. And they are here, this opposition publics, but they don't want to speak at the podium, but they have provided a comment.
Okay.
There are 2 more people and they would like to speak for
Okay.
themselves.
All right. So let's call the first one up to speak. And when you come up to speak, you need to please state your name and address.
Okay, the first one is Sharon Holton.
Evening, and thank you for allowing us to share. Sharon and Donald Holton, we live at 520 Devonshire Farms Way. We are kind of kitty corner. We adjacent, kind of at a diagonal off of the back of the property. And the things we would like to request the committee to keep in mind are that the Milton zoning ordinances were created for a purpose, and they were created for the purpose of protecting all Milton property owners. And we in Devonshire Farms have worked very hard to protect the property rights, the property values of our properties. And the request for this design ordinance is encroaching by more than 50% on the setbacks required for a backyard, placing it very close to the back lot line. And we think that could be a negative effect on our properties for a number of reasons. One of them is just the visual impact. As you look, someone buying our home would prefer, we all bought into our heavily wooded neighborhoods in order to be able to see the woods, not to see other hardscape. There's already issues with runoff from things that have been changed in the yard we've had to do work on our driveway because of water coming underneath and have had to have some expense with that. So runoff is a concern. Privacy is a concern. That's why those setbacks are in place. So we had asked that those setbacks would be honored. there's the consideration of noise, and the closer you are, the noisier that it gets. So those are some of the things that we would just like to ask that the existing ordinances be enforced. We're in favor, we're happy that the city of Milton has the opportunity to have exceptions. And if there's an adjacent property where there would be no negative impacts, then we certainly understand that. But in this case, there's a lot of downside for Devonshire Farms, including ourselves. And so we would ask that those things would be respectfully considered. And if they are able to rework their design to stay within the ordinances, then our request would be that there would be lots of natural landscape that would help to minimize the noise and minimize the visual effects and maximize the privacy. And we have printed some sheets that we'll leave with the secretary so that you can have our notes if that would be helpful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
The next one is Hank Freeman, 530 Devonshire Farm.
Hello, excuse me. I'm Hank Freeman. This is my wife, Julie Freeman. We're at 530 Devonshire Farms Way. We live directly behind the property that's asking for these variances. So let me just read this through. So I'm here to ask the board to deny 2 requested variances for the walkers. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So my property is, do y'all have the arrow on your screens? Okay. Can you, whoop, just disappeared. We're right here. There's another screen just went.
It takes them a second. It takes a minute.
Okay.
It's a little slow.
It's okay. It's okay. So there's 3 properties that abut the back of the property. So my family is one of the 3 properties that backs up to the applicant's backyard. I need to go to the next picture. Down arrow, okay. First, I am concerned that we have not received full disclosure regarding the applicant's property. The plat submitted does not include the concrete patio and fireplace chimney that is visible in this realtor.com aerial photo. Based on the photo, which includes the patio and fireplace chimney, the existing hardscape is roughly 22%, and the final project with the hardscape to approximately 30%. You can see it circled in the red. It is not on their original plat. Second, there's no mention of variance for the Milton tree ordinance. The location of the pool and cabana house would require the removal of roughly 14 hardwood specimen trees. If you look at the picture, you see the fireplace chimney. If you go to the right, you see the tree area, and you see where they've removed all the trees from the rest of their property. It's a 1-acre property. A lot, excuse me, a lot of thought and consideration went into developing the city ordinances. The ordinances were created to keep Milton's charm and rural nature intact. When my family decided to move in 2019, we specifically looked in Milton because of the size of the lots and the low-density development. We intentionally did not look in Alpharetta. I believe that ignoring the ordinances in regarding the setbacks and the percentage of hardscapes is in direct conflict with the city's vision for Milton. If the applicant is granted the 2 variances, there would be substantial impact to neighboring properties. All 3 of the properties abutting the back property line of the applicant experience water runoff and erosion problems, and that is due to the clear cutting of not only this property, but then the property next door. My property would be most affected if more permeable surfaces were installed and the setback is reduced. It would intensify the water flow around the pool and cabana house and lose the tree and vegetation buffer that helps slow it down. In addition, the pool water pH and chemicals could potentially affect the trees and vegetation on my property. So I'm a little loud, sorry. All right, I have a video for you guys to watch. And where's play? Okay. This is my yard. This is my front yard. That's my house with the red brick and the green sides. This is my front yard. And this is not an everyday rain, but this is happens 3 times a year since we've lived there, 3 to 4. So this is water coming off and washing all the debris out. If you see the house to the left, that's Sharon and Don Holton's house. And these are where the water's coming through is washing out where the roots of those trees are right there. As you can see, we're going up the property, approaching the applicant's house. This is supposed to be on fast forward. I apologize. We had it recorded. It's a little slow. And I did not take this video in response to this. This was something, when I noticed that we were having this issue, I was going like, what in the world? So you can see the water, substantial water coming down, and this is not a one-time event. You can see how close it approaches as I walk up the property to my house foundation. So as we get here, we're looking up. The White House is the applicant's house. So as I spoke earlier, there's this significant slope down from their house to my house. We look up at their house. So this is the water rushing through. As you can see, we have kept a wooded atmosphere in the backyard of our house. We have not developed it. There's our house, and you can see how close the water is to our foundation. There's me just kind of turning around and looking. Like I said, this was not prepared for anybody to look at. This was just from my knowledge. So you can see the other houses surrounding, and Don and Sharon's house is to the right. And they're concerned and how close they are to the back of this property. There's a neighbor waving at me. So as I walk up, you can see as we approach the applicant's house, the White House, and that is the area where they want to put their pool. It is that corner. So there is a wall that's built there, and already we've had approximately 5 significant hardwood trees over 40 inches die and fall. You can see some of the dead trees there because I believe the water buildup has killed them. And as we walk up, looking down, you can see the water. And I apologize for the slowness of the video. And then now I'm approaching up where the applicant wants to put their pool at the end of their property. You can see the flooding and the pooling right there. Oop, shoot, I apologize. How do I stop the video? How do I stop it? Okay, I just want to go to the back. I clicked it too fast. I apologize here. So there we go. So this is a backyard to the house. You can see their fence, and you can see the pooling of the water that we deal with. So there's already an issue that we have to see. So let me continue. I consulted with a civil engineer about this matter, and he wants to see the applicant's hydrology study in more detail on how the water enters the dry wells that it's on their plats. The plan shows 1 dry well, but the hardship letter indicates 2 dry wells. What's this story? He wants to see the location of the pool and spa pumps where they're not located on the plat. Given the reduced setbacks area, the pump location is important to determine the area of noise disturbance. He wants to understand why the pool backwash would be directed. The design does not provide any details about the wall design, cabana house height. Remember, we were looking up, so we will be looking up at this cabana house in aesthetics. Next, I would like to address the applicant's hardship letter that you all have. The applicant acknowledges there's a serious issue with the water running onto my property. They're aware of this. You just witnessed that on the video. But increasing the impermeable surface of the lot, I expect the water flow to be intensified, increased on my property. The applicant says he would add 2 flow wells, but there's no hydrology study to show this would be enough to eliminate the problem. So placing 2 garbage cans in the ground, I don't think is going to work. Their house is approximately 5,800 square feet, the largest in their neighborhood, according to Realtor.com, with the new pool and cabana house at approximately 3,474 square feet, which you all have noticed on the plat. This makes this for a considerable footprint for a lot this size. The applicant states this would match, quote, the gracious proportions, aspirational living in Milton that sets it apart from other cities, end quote. Does this imply that Milton is only for rich people? The applicant speaks of the right to have a pool. I believe having a pool and cabana house is a privilege, not a right. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are rights provided by our Constitution, as long as they don't infringe on someone else. We're all for them having a pool, but let's build it within the ordinance. In this case, I rely on the city ordinances to protect my rights as a property owner. By granting this variance for hardscape in excess of 20% for R2A zoning, the applicant opens the door for everyone's right to have a pool, regardless of size, shape of their lot. So get ready, guys. Pools are not always considered an asset that increases the value of a home. They state that they're going to make my property more valuable by putting in a pool. I don't see a gate for me to come use their pool. I argue no variance setback is needed. The applicant's backyard is quite large, which you stated just a moment ago, and sufficient as it abuts 3 one-acre backyards. The applicant feels there is social pressure to have a pool to keep up with the Joneses. Realtor.com lists their house as the most expensive in their neighborhood at over $1 million. I have no problem with them having a nice house, but don't tell me you have to have a pool to have an even better house. The applicant seems to suggest that I sacrifice my yard along with the trees and wildlife that live there to accommodate his pool and cabana house. They just stated that because we have not developed our wooded area, we're 140 feet from their pool, into their pool. I'm a good neighbor. What if I want to put in a pool? What if I want to develop back into my property? I do not think Milton's tree ordinance considers replacing mature hardwood trees with Leland cypress bushes, as they state in their hardship letter. So they're going to cut down 14 approximately hardwood trees, and they're going to put up a buffer of bushes, Leland cypresses around it, probably. So, in conclusion, out of order here, I apologize. 6. Look at the pages. Here we go. In summary, I ask for this request to be denied. I make this request based on the impact to my property and my neighbor's property. But I also ask for this denial to protect the trees, the wildlife. We have deer. We've had 2 years in a row, red-shouldered hawks make nests in our yard. Protect the wildlife that we see daily in our yard, as well as all the things we love about Milton. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
No.
No, thank you.
Okay.
All right, if the.
Can I have a comment?
Yeah, the applicants just need to come back up.
Hey, just 1 second.
And the letter that wanted the postponement is in opposition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So you all can come back up if you would. So I want to be on record that I'm generally against variances, and both oppositions made very good speeches, especially the piece of paper that was handed out. And it's a good chance here in public hearing to say what you said. Milton zoning ordinances are designed to protect the rights of Milton property owners. I, as a property owner, really believe in that. It's one of the reasons I'm on this board. And anytime you don't have all of the adjacent property owners behind you, I'm probably going to vote no. So there's a lot of opposition here. There's clearly a lot of water running down the hill that this would increase. I am a builder, developer. I see the problem here. I didn't like the cabana encroaching. The pool is great. I want you to have it if you can do it inside the property you have. And my suggestion where maybe I would have gone your way, was the cabana is just an extreme abuse of the setbacks. Would you move that? You can't move it for all the reasons you said. A pool's one thing, a pool encroachment, but I also agree with this, being a builder, topo, and they're looking up at a structure that gets bigger. So I'm going to, we don't vote, we just send information to BZA. And my colleagues may have a different opinion and want to add comments, but I would recommend this be denied for the reasons that are on the record tonight from the opposition, because I believe they're right. I don't make my decisions based on property values. There's nothing going down in value in Milton. And if we do nothing but sit here another 5 years, our values are going to continue to go up. As a developer, pools are a plus, but sometimes they affect value negatively because some people don't want a pool in their backyard. So I don't put my case out there based on value of homes and all that. It is about the trees. It's about the runoff. And as the lady said, there's rules here that are designed to protect us, or at least we know when we buy our house what can happen around us. And that's what these setbacks are meant to do. And so that's a long discussion. We've had more and more of these variances. And in our desire, all of us, to help everybody and to be good neighbors, we've approved a lot of things. And we've all agreed, as we look at this, we just can't be doing all we're doing. And for me, at a minimum, if you had all your neighbors on board and they were happy, you might get my support, because we'd like to always say yes. So I would make a request that this be denied, and I'll defer to my colleagues on what they think.
I'm in agreement with Charlie. I think the cabana house, if you look at the landscape plan, it shows the cabana, and one of the other papers says the walls are 10 feet high. Then you've got the ridge roof on top, and then behind the cabana, you've got the pool pump equipment, at least on the landscape plan. So that's pushing further and further back. I think that's just a bit too far.
Sure, understandable.
Yeah, I would agree as well. When there's opposition, it's really hard for us to not listen to homeowners. I live in an HOA controlled community as well, and our committee, our architectural committee, is extremely strict. And I'm not sure what the HOA said on this, but I mean, when there's not agreement, then it's really hard even for the HOA
I think the
architectural.
HOA is in support.
Yeah, there's a letter of
This
support.
one,
in the
Yeah, I
packet.
saw that, which is interesting, but usually when there's neighbors that are not
Different HOA.
different
HOA that backs
Yeah,
up,
different
that's
neighborhood.
right. So, yeah, but you still have to play nice with the other HOA.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
You don't want to upset the other HOA and the people behind you. Yeah, I think just on a design, my comment would be on design specifically for the pole folks. I think, you've got a lot of natural areas in that community, a lot of treed areas. You don't want to take out those trees. If you want to find a solution that fits in the framework that is more natural, and we've seen several pools come through here where they did that and it worked. I think that's probably a smarter decision if you want a pool. This design doesn't fit with this lot, and that's the problem. And we can't give variances with other neighbors abutting that are not in agreement. So
The one thing that kept ringing in my head was the neighbor already has a problem with water.
a
I mean,
huge
isn't that
problem.
pretty obvious?
That's a
And
big
I mean, this
problem.
could be an opportunity for neighbors to get together to fix potential problem.
Yeah.
Correct?
He's already, or neighbors behind us that spoke last, they've already dug a trench on our property line and our neighbor's property line. But yes, and he was correct that in my appeals letter that it wasn't just to him. We both wrote that there were 2 flow wells listed. As you all have the updated site plan, there's not now 5 flow wells that were based on calculations that, is how that figure was reached. So, and we certainly understand their concerns. In the summer when, the trees are grown in and everything, when we moved in, we bought the house in May and it was not in livable condition. We moved in August. I didn't even know there was a neighborhood behind us because we have, green giants everywhere. So I certainly understand his concern, and that's why you see us planting back magnolias and green giants and all of that.
I think we need to make our recommendation, and we've heard the case. I think we need to move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thanks. So the recommendation of the BZA is, I believe, board does not approve. Is that correct? Or did you have a comment?
I had a comment and a question. One is, going forward, if you could put a detailed landscape plan, because I didn't see that, to see exactly what you're gonna be planning to put back. It's in this folder, okay. And the other thing was, so you say you can't build anywhere else because of the slopes. I think is an inaccurate statement. I probably wouldn't say that because you can
Without
build
significant cost.
exactly.
Right,
You
yeah,
can build
absolutely.
anywhere. It's just
Right,
gonna
yeah.
cost a lot
Right,
of fill.
you have the
to
money for it,
Bring
right.
the fill in
Absolutely.
and build a retaining wall that's been structural engineered. So I would probably change that approach and say that the cost is it's a huge impact. But I agree, and variances are usually used for hardship. I don't see, other than money, I don't see any other thing that's blocking from moving it somewhere else or reducing the pervious pavers, the quantity, because we're not talking about a lot. Because I think from the drawing you have a little over 2,000 square feet of pavers. That it's not an abundance of pavers that you're reducing the quantity by to get within, so you don't even need the variance for that item. But those are my two big ones. Is probably don't say it can't be done, just say it's most cost effective where it is.
Without
And
financial
then
hardship, right.
also show a little bit of give and take. Sometimes people want to see that you gave up something in order to make the deal work. So I see this here, but what are y'all willing to give up?
Well, in the letter, we have already removed one playhouse, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a large percentage, but a second playhouse that's now just one, remove that as well as the play structures too.
Maybe a more detailed conversation with your neighbors to the rear about the water flow and
Sure.
show and share more information about how it's going to improve.
Yeah, absolutely.
That situation, because that's pretty dire. So
Right.
if you can help with that.
Seems like the water flow is more of an issue than a
Correct.
site problem. I don't live there, so I don't know, but obviously think if I was a neighbor and I had that problem somewhat solved, that would be a nice
Yeah.
benefit of all of this.
Fix the runoff first, and then we can start to.
Talk about screening and
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
but do you need to make the recommendation, or is it?
Yeah,
Deny.
that we're denying. But the comments are good ones that Beniqua made, and Charlie. I think everybody's comments, as long as we just put a couple of those in there just to let them know our thoughts in case they come back with something, which they might. We'll see. All right, next courtesy review, V21-26, address is 1745 Dinsmore Road. The request is to allow the existing garage to encroach rear yard setback up to 9.33 feet to the north property line on the property zone AG1. If you could state your name and address.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Smith. I live at 1745 Dinsmore. And what we're trying to do is we want to receive a variance. We currently have an old metal barn structure on the back right of our property, if you're looking at it facing north. That current structure is and has been there since we bought the property. I'm assuming it's God knows how old. But it is within 9.5 feet of the back property line. What we're looking to do is, instead of just utilizing the frame that's currently there, we're going to take the frame down, build a new frame around it, utilizing the same, cement foundation that's currently there. That will allow us to have very little disruption around anything around us or around the yard or around any of the other properties. We have a letter enclosed with ours from our next door neighbor, which is the only property owner that actually can see the barn in the back. And they're for us removing the old metal ugly structure and putting in a new one. The thought process is, if you see there's several pictures in here, this is a picture of the current metal barn, as you can see it from the front. This is a picture of our house right here. Just on this side over here is a extra carriage house. We look to mimic that carriage house as the replacement for the current metal structure that's there. And that is our request.
Well, it certainly improves the aesthetics. I mean, the new design is.
It's all about improving the aesthetics. It's about getting rid of the metal barn, improving the property value by improving the aesthetics of what's used there. I utilize the barn today. I want to utilize the structure in the future for the same purpose, which is storage. I would just like it to look better. I would like it to look better for not only myself, but also my neighbors. It'll enhance their property. Maybe not enhance their property as far as their value, but it's going to make their property look better because it's more aesthetically pleasing.
And the total square footage, you're not changing?
Not at all. It's a 50 by 40, 2,000 square foot structure. It will remain exactly the same.
And you're not adding a second floor.
No, I'm not adding a second floor.
Yeah, I've seen the structure. It's kind of a dog the way it is right now. I think that enhancing the aesthetics of it would be fine.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think they've grandfathered in because the house has been there for a while. So to me, that's the best use, to tear it down, build on the same structure, and it'll look great. So, okay, I think we all have nods that we agree, and we're going to support you moving forward with the BZA. I think you have all your ducks in a row. You got your pictures, you got your letter. So I think you'll be good to go at the BZA. So good luck.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
All right, so we have a preliminary building review for 850 Mayfield Road for Phase 2 of that project. If the applicant could come forward, just give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name's Andrew Telker. My address is 500 Thrasher Street, Norcross.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
I'm here on behalf of John Gadsden of Crabapple Ventures, LLC. I'm a licensed architect with Sizemore Group Architects. And I'd like to talk a little bit about 850 Mayfield Road, if I can.
Before we start, Shuba, this isn't marked final courtesy or anything else, and it's 6C under courtesy reviews, but this isn't a courtesy review, is it?
This is a courtesy review
Yeah.
in the sense that it was not ready for final review. They did not had like the sample board and everything. So, but they really were eager to get your feedback before they do final renderings.
But under courtesy, so this is our courtesy review. This is under 6C. It's not going to the ZBA.
It's not a
going
variance,
to
but it's
BZA.
just
Yeah.
a preliminary.
Yeah,
I have
so-
a sample board and a colored rendering of the front.
All right, but to finish one thing, it's not under this category. It's a courtesy review of ours, not something going on to
Yeah,
ZBA.
BZA.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just wanted to confirm that.
great. So we're still not voting, we're just giving input. Okay.
I have a question. It says 3 stories, but it looks like there are 4 stories.
There's a sub-level garage. So the 3 stories face the road on Mayfield, and then it's on a bit of a hill on a slope, similar to Phase 1. And then so the rear is 4 stories. There's a garage underneath. The garage is not calculated in the gross square footage.
So on this colored rendering,
That
this
would-
level is the garage?
No, that would be the Mayfield Road.
Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4.
No. The top windows are just decorative.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's just decorative.
There's nothing going on in the
It's three
tower?
Yeah.
No,
Agreeing
no,
with
sir.
Jeff, there's nothing in that tower.
There's nothing in the top of those towers. Those are the existing, they utilize some daylighting with those upper windows, but it's not a fourth floor, it's not a loft, it's not anything other than
No
some
livable
daylighting.
space, no.
So that third floor will have a high ceiling.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
And so the third floor is lofts or office, or what's going to be on the third floor?
So on phase two will be 20,000 square feet. First floor will be 6,000 of retail, which may be restaurant, maybe cafe, maybe other purposes. Second floor is approximately 7,000 square feet. That would be business, office, similar to phase one. And the third floor of phase two would be residential, having 4 units on it. Also about 7,000 square feet.
Okay.
I'm curious, Robin, when you say 3 floors, is there any definition to the height of a story?
So within the form-based code, it's permitted, I'd have to look it up, but
14 feet.
it's 14 feet for, up to 14 feet for a story, for a floor. height.
Okay, so you could have 14 times 3, and that would be 40, whatever it is.
Well, not all of them can be,
The
it can
first floor,
range with
yeah.
a maximum, so let me look it up.
The
on
first floor has special considerations in the code.
So
Well,
this is-
I'm just curious, since I got this far, it's probably okay, but just for my own knowledge, I mean, when you say there's a 3-story limit in Milton, how high?
Right, that's what we're looking at. I was
Okay.
trying to get to the code.
So Jeff is going down a road I wanted to talk about. And we've got a lot of height with the way these were designed with these towers on the top. And we're about to get to the corner where the one-story medical office are. And one of my requests would have been to take those towers off of this building, even though they're next door, saving the developer a lot of money, and see if we can't start to step this down as we get to the corner. And as we get to the new medical office that's underway, that's 1 story. It's like we got a giant mountain on one side of Mayfield, and then we got all these cute little 1 stories on the other side of Mayfield. So
There's still a lot here, so who's got this lot? What's going on?
some
there? Do you know,
other,
Reed?
somebody other than John.
Is that John's?
No,
It's not.
it's a group in Cumming owns it.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we are, and then we've got the much lower townhomes across the street. And we've been worried, Reed, as you pointed out, about the corner and those units right there on the corner. And Robin, is there anything on the corner property?
No, there's not on the
On the,
northwest, there's nothing currently in.
okay, so we have a chance there to look at that height closer. And so as Robin gets to an answer, Jeff, your height question is really a good one. And if those towers came off, it would begin to soften the streetscape from the massive heights we now have.
So the building, it does conform to the crabapple building codes.
Yeah, I
The
have
height.
it in front of me now.
Okay.
So it comes, basically it says, building height shall be measured, this is for T4, which is what it is zone. Building height shall be measured in number of stories excluding attics and above-ground portions of basements. So that upper level is considered a type of attic. And then it goes on to say, stories may not exceed 14 feet in height from finished floor to finished ceiling, except for a first floor commercial function, which must be a minimum of 11 feet with a maximum of 25 feet. So there's a lot of flexibility So they're not all to be 14 or they're not all to be 25, but it's on a case-by-case basis. And then height shall be measured to the eave or roof deck as specified in table 5. So table 5, that is usually average grade to the roof eave, but let me get to it to get specific. Okay. So, let me, I'm just put this on the,
42 feet.
no, that's T5.
I mean,
Well,
what I'm
table
trying to
5 shows 53 feet with commercial on the first floor. So we feel like we're compliant with that.
I think I'm good with the heights, Robin, and all that.
Okay.
My question is, it's a 4th floor. It's more of a design issue than a code issue. And then when we say there's nothing up there, that's really not the truth. There's a roof terrace up there.
Yeah, those are for the residential units, which also is in compliance with our understanding of the code.
Counts as heated square feet. Alfred does it all the time.
It doesn't count.
Actually, the townhouses that were built right behind here are the same way.
And
There's no heated and cooled square feet.
I'd just like to be,
the buildings also, where the Starbucks is, they've got rooftop on those as well, so.
so I'm just going to be on record that I'm against all this height, and I'm getting a lot of calls about the height. We all love all the density in the restaurants, but it's the height that bothers me, and that it suddenly stops at the roundabout across from the library. And perhaps earlier, before our watch, and we were on the board, maybe we would have been thinking about stepping that height down as you get to the roundabout in the residential townhomes. And then the 1-stories, if you'll remember when those came in, we were trying to get them higher because they were so squatty and low. And so these towers really are there just to let light in, but they really add to massive height to this building. And so I'm on record. I've said it. I think the height down through here is a little high, or very high. And I think as these get finished, that will become very obvious to everybody that it's really high.
I think it's important too. I mean, if you look at the Cairns side of the world where they're all 1-story,
Yeah.
and it was such a miss to make those higher that we don't have enough height. I get transitioning into different parts of our neighborhood here. But just when you come in front of the board and you only want a 1-story, I think it creates a problem in the future. So I don't know what the give and take is there, but
maybe
that's what I'm hearing is that people wish they had more height.
I
Well,
think when
'cause
we
you
have
got
all,
the hill,
isn't it?
right? Because you've got that old home on the hill, and that neighborhood's up on the hill, so yeah, in a way, you're like doing this, right?
so for good design, we should be looking at all those issues, hill heights, 1-stories, and what's happening. If we could go back, and as our city center develops, if we could go back, maybe we wouldn't agree to a 1-story medical buildings.
Right.
And we're going to have the other side of the street coming to us soon.
That's right.
And maybe had we thought this through 4 years ago, we'd have thought about reducing those heights of John's buildings as they got to the corner.
I just remember going through the conversation with the medical building where we tried to even make it look 2-story.
We did.
And wiggle around that. And so, I think we probably do get taller in the future than we get smaller. That's just my projection, but.
Well, I would say then, just as a point of reference, and this corner here, we'll need to be really careful what goes in there to do some sort of balance.
And we sure on the corner next to this wouldn't want another, because Jeff's viewed it as a 4-story building. You had to educate us on the code, and he's within that. But to the consumer, for the next 75 years, it seems like a 4-story building sitting there, not a 3-story, with the tower up there. And that really cute roundabout and very nicely designed roundabout and library in medical buildings, then all of a sudden these gigantic high buildings start. I don't think that's good design.
I think it stays a lot even in the character of driving down this street where a lot of these buildings are 3 stories. I think that area is a high valued area and will be, to your notion that you made, Mr. Casey, that I think those buildings are going to increase in height as well. I don't think I think it's a very handsome design. It's in character with the design that is part of phase 1. So it does seem appropriate for the area. I think that area is going to be built up, and I much like when you drive down this road here, it's not overwhelming with these 3-story buildings that are around here. And so it's the same type of scale. It's the same type of character. It does fall within all that we've gone through extensive communication with the city and zoning and gone through the codes pretty extensively. And we feel it complies with all the rules of the codes, being 3 stories, being 53 feet to the measure of the eave.
Yeah, in
from the
no
first
way am I
floor.
saying it doesn't meet, so we just get off
Yeah.
of this and move on. No way am I saying it doesn't meet code.
Okay.
I didn't say that. Aesthetically,
Mhm.
many people think those buildings are too tall. And then, as you're talking about this street, here's City Hall, this cuter, more Milton-like brand, lower profile building, and then you got 4-story townhomes right here. And many of the neighbors across the street that are in really 2- and 3-story buildings have voiced their concerns about the height of these new buildings.
Okay.
When we were approving those, we had homeowners here unhappy about those 4-story new ones that are just finishing. I'm just on record in discussion with the board and with staff about the corner and the adjacent piece. And more likely than not, we're going to see the units across the street coming before us next year. They've already been here and were rejected for a demo permit. And those are going to be coming back to us. And we just need to think, they're beautiful buildings. I'm going to say in a minute that they're beautiful buildings. It's just right up on the street, know it meets code, know it meets form base, understand all that. But they're really tall when you put these towers on top. They're really tall. And I'm hearing a lot from the community about the height. And so I just want to be on record. I brought it up. We're going to face this next year more with some more things coming to us. And the community doesn't want to see any more height than we got now. Regardless of what the form-based code is, Robin, the community doesn't want to see more height. That's what I'm hearing now that John's buildings are done and this is all happening and they're seeing this height. They're not feeling that's Milton's brand. The library is, the townhomes are, these are higher than people imagined because they are very big buildings. Doesn't mean they're not pretty. It doesn't mean you haven't met code and that you haven't done a great job.
I have a question about the existing building. Is it fully occupied? Has all of it been filled with tenants and have all of the spaces been leased?
I believe it has.
Okay.
I'd have to clarify that with John, but I believe it has. That's why
Okay.
he's looking for phase 2.
Okay, because I mean, some people hear about height. I hear about, is everything leased out? I see a lot of empty tenant space
Yep.
in some areas, and that's always my concern is, okay, let's fill the places we have first
Yep.
before we go building something else new. So that was just curious about the existing building. Was it fully?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay,
I'm like
fully
90% sure
occupied.
that that's filled up. That's why he's interested in moving on to phase 2,
Gotcha.
because that's been phase 1 was a great success.
Mhm.
A lot of people drive by and talk about it. We're entering it in different architectural awards because it is such a craftsmanship building.
Mhm.
It brings a lot to the tax base of Milton, and it's one of the buildings that we showcase on what we do architecturally. So we take a lot of pride in that building, what we accomplish, and we feel phase 2 is right in the same character and meets all the guidelines. And I think this area is going to be built up, so I think it would be a missed opportunity to not.
I was going to interject that I believe when we talked to Mr. Gaston the last time that it looks like that he has a pretty high activity on the second building, and I believe there may be just like one primary office tenant that's looking at leasing it. So it does appear that it's pretty good activity on fulfilling the space, so.
The only other comment I would make is on the, in the parking area,
Yep.
since you're adding some spaces. The area that's kind of backed up on the roadside, where you've got 11 spaces towards the back, it just seems like we need some landscape buffer back there.
Okay.
Definitely don't want to just see a bunch of parking spots. It's got to be buffered for sure.
Okay.
And some buffer, not just grass, but some, shrubbery off where you've got 5 spaces also on the left side. Definitely need some buffer there.
Stairwell is the only way to get up to the internal stair, to get up to the roof.
The 5 are existing. The 2 below that would be new ones. So there's some trees planted there, but I'm marking up the plants to show more screening or planting. The stairs for the phase 2, there's 2 sets of stairs. One is outboard of the building. If I'm looking on AO2.
Okay.
One is outboard of the building, plan right, plan east. That does not go up to the rooftop. And then there's another one that is basically symmetrical on the other side, but inside of the building.
Yeah.
That does not go up to the rooftop either. There's a rooftop access ladder. That you would go through a rooftop hatch on the interior of the building. And that's consistent with the phase 1 design as well. Same thing for phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I'll-
overall we need a landscape
Yeah.
plan.
And just FYI, because this is a commercial, when they come in for the LDP or a revised LDP to put in the building, you'll be seeing that as well for a final review, so.
Okay, yeah, and a landscape plan.
Right, yeah.
Right,
And then I think we're all in agreement, the architecture, it's a beautiful building,
beautiful.
and the brackets and all that looks great, so.
Do we know when this is going to come back to us, Robin?
When it's going to come back for the
January.
final
Next round.
January. I think
January
January
4th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I have to go walk it and really look at it.
So the A09 shows the plaza plan between the buildings that we spent a lot of time developing. And then A10 shows a lot of the 3D isometrics that we've developed in the 3D model. So we've worked a lot of the stuff out in 3D to kind of both help us as the architects study it, but also convey the concept to the client and the board here. So the plaza is a bit of a sloping hill that we're preserving a lot of the natural grass and landscaping. And then the hardscape would be towards the front of the building or towards Mayfield Road. And it's trying to keep a little bit of the existing that is there now and also kind of keep it soft and walkable. And then we would envision in that plaza that connects the 2 buildings that it could be an outdoor cafe area or a real nice passive area that people could really utilize during the day and see it as something real enjoyable.
We done?
Yeah, any other comments, questions?
It does, I mean, the building obviously looks great. It's just like the one next door, not much to.
Yeah, it
Right.
does. Yeah, great.
Thank you very much. What would you guys like to see when I come back on January 4th? I've got a box of sample materials with me that show the brick, shows the stone, a lot of the other materials. I have on A12 shows the color of the existing building, so you get the character, color, tone. The only
Since this
thing-
is a courtesy, I'd rather see all those samples with the landscape plan when they
Yep.
come back in January.
Yeah, I think we'd like to see those when you come back for the final LDP and that would be great.
Okay, we're going to look at the height considerations and how that might be affected. If the design team or the client doesn't feel that they want to lower the height, is that going to be a deal breaker?
No, because
think so.
like Robin says, you've met all your codes and
Yeah,
they say you legally can do it.
yeah.
My comment is about the street and the height and expectations of future people in the future. We struggled, you really struggled with the height of the one stories at this corner. And we were pushing them to do two and we couldn't get anything but one. And so that's going to make the extremes really significant here. And then we've got a vacant piece there, and then the old house is going to want to be torn down. And this is just a topic that we have. And if we put this on the record way ahead of time, then the future is not surprised with our positions or thoughts. But you're good. You're matching your other building. Sleep well. It's all going to be fine in
It
January.
looks good.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Everything will be
you.
good.
All right. We are going to move into some final reviews. So the first item is Ebenezer UMC Activity Center on 12900 Arnold Mill Road. This is for the building review. And then the site, we'll vote on that separate from the LDP, so.
With a couple of more cases, is anybody got any real issues with this?
Upcoming,
Yeah, with what's he's about to show us?
major issues.
I think it's great. We saw this a year ago. They've really listened to us a year ago, and it's really very, very nice. Great presentation. We'd point out,
Beautiful.
y'all, I wish all presentations had these many pictures and all four sides shown and the detail you all have presented us.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful.
And
Yeah.
staff, this is more where we want to be instead of these one little front, no back, no sides that we've seen a lot of from some good developers. But, and this kind of sizing where you can really see it. So great presentation.
And the keynotes where they're numbered for the construction materials, that's really helpful to go through and look at that. So yeah, looks really good.
Thank you. Reggie Elkins, architect for Ebenezer Activity Center, 12900 Arnold Mill Road. So again, as you stated earlier, we've been at this for about 3 years to get to this point. And hopefully we've taken comments as we've gone through the process that we've gotten from the different boards. But the goal for the committee has always been to try to keep the character of this site in this building, kind of the rural Milton horse farm type of character. Even though you got the small white church on the corner, visually what they want people to think as they're driving by is small white farmhouse with the barn back up on the hillside behind the building. So the activity center, again, as you can see from the presentations and the samples and so forth, especially the site, we wanted to keep the site as natural as possible. So we've used a lot of natural materials. All of the vertical retaining walls are dry stack stone. They're over 6 feet and they're broken with a planter in front of them. We've got 3 of those. And then the smaller kind of rolling areas, we're proposing to use boulders in those areas. Because we're using the activity center, as we've mentioned earlier in earlier presentations, to open it up for the community. The interior design is such that productions can be done inside the building with a very high-end audio visual. So rather than regular glass on the high windows, we're trying to control the light coming into the building with the faceted glass, which is, this is the faceted glass, or called chunk glass. That's the light through, but not direct sunlight. So you don't have problems from a direct light standpoint for productions and that kind of thing. But really, with that, I'll open it up for any questions you might have.
Let's let my colleagues ring in, but I would make a motion to approve this as submitted.
Well, I just had this isn't really it's a question more than
Sure.
anything. The back side of that pavilion, or the proposed building, the main building, underneath the big window, kind of faces the parking lot.
Yes. And backside? Yeah, that faces basically the tent pond.
Oh, okay.
And the.
That's what it looked like on the site plan.
So the inside, that's where that form is. But it backs up with the tent.
It doesn't look like you're going to be using that as a really highly usable area behind there. I just thought if it was, just look kind of bland, just kind of seeing the back of the building real tall, but it looks like the heavy traffic area is going to be kind of to the right side of that. Is that right?
Yeah, basically the road behind it is strictly.
Yeah.
This would be the back that you're looking at right here.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Observation than anything. There's a motion out there.
Yeah, I made a motion to approve Ebenezer Activity Center as submitted at 12900 Arnold Mill Road.
I'll second. Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, it's beautiful project.
Y'all have done a great job.
Yeah, it
For a while.
really-
You've worked on it for a long
Really
time.
looks nice.
And it's great when you come to us and we all up here really wanted that Milton look. We talked about it, the porches, the brackets. You've just done a really great job.
All right, so we also now have to do the land development plan separately. So we have Ebenezer for the LDP, which is our item number 7B.
And once again, I'm Mike Doyle, JK Lockwood Construction. So we've submitted the for LDP over the last year. We've gone back and forth, met all the restrictions and made the changes to accommodate all their comments. So I think this is just kind of a formality, but what I've included is just the overall site plan, which is what you've got out here on this board. Shows all the drainage and it shows the water service if you're interested in looking at that. We are using permeable pavers through the entire parking area. So there really will be no asphalt paving left anymore. As Reggie said, all retaining walls will be stacked stone or boulders. I've got one in the back, one of the drawings in the back that kind of highlights that. We've only got a couple walls. And I've got the landscape plan in here. We did modify as a comment from the Tuba and Bob, we did modify the entrance closest to Arnold Mill to make it a right in, right out only to alleviate any traffic trying to stack up at that light going out on Arnold Mill.
Quick question. Why the artificial turf right there?
Excuse me?
The artificial turf, why?
That's
It's the amphitheater,
Uh-huh.
rather than putting real grass. And that kind of-
Okay, just
you
was
know,
curious.
have a rain sitting area
Mhm.
for the amphitheater.
Okay.
Just mainly to
Thought you were gonna put in a putting green, but that's all right. Just was curious, my own benefit.
Any other questions on the LDP?
I'd make a motion again to approve Ebenezer's LDP as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you.
Are you all, with your LDP, are you ready to do this now? You ready to start?
That's great.
Even with supply chain and all the issues out there, you're going to move ahead.
Start the demolition in January. Asbestos, we gotta get out first. Demolition and, as far as, try not to get stuck in the middle of February if it rains a lot.
Good.
Gonna be nice. Gonna be nice.
Long time.
You have, but the end result is going to be beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well, they say that people drive down 140, remember three things. The silos, the little castle, and the little white church.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
I love that you got a little history there with the little white church, but you got something beautiful that's still taking care of the brand, the Milton brand.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our final review for the evening is Chadwick Village, Lot 1, address is 13625 Arnold Mill Road. Proposed gas station and office building as per the agreement between the city and the owner. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Mushtaq Musa. I'm the design architect for this project. My address is 105 Oak Creek Court, Roswell, Georgia. And I'm here to present the design. I hope you've gotten the booklet that we submitted. I do quite a few of these, and this is the first time I've submitted a booklet of 23 pages for a gas station building.
We don't want a lot of gas stations in Milton.
Sorry?
We don't want a lot of gas stations.
I don't want to build any more than this one. I agree.
We're all in agreement.
I live 5-7 minutes from here, and my kids go to school at Milton High, and I think the only reason I like to drop them and pick them up is so that I can drive through Milton and continuously be inspired by what's happening here. So thank you for doing what you're doing, actually.
You did do a great presentation, and again, staff, this is, maybe keep a couple of these on your desk when some of these guys come in, and some of our more famous developers in Milton that have done a lot of work come in with the worst presentations, and I've been on record about that, but he has done a great job. And before we get too excited, I've got some comments and things I want to change. So it gets worse from here, but at least I can see the drawings and we know what we're working on. And I really appreciate all this work.
I do want to, thank you. Thank you. I do want to acknowledge the staff's help in this. We worked very closely for about 2 months or more with Bob and Robin and Shubha, and they guided us through the process. So I do want to acknowledge and appreciate that.
Super. That's the way it ought to work. So that's great. And when I make my comments in a few minutes, I think it's a great project. You're headed there. My comments are fairly small. I like the project. I like the site plan, and I'm supportive of all that. I've just got a few architectural details to discuss.
Yeah, and
As I
we
do.
have the civil engineers here, so if you have any questions as far as that is concerned. And I think they have submitted the LDP also, and apparently from what I understand, this is, in a small way, it's history making because this is the first LDP submitted electronically to the city of Milton. I think
all right.
if I'm not mistaken, that's what I heard.
Okay.
What I've been hearing is
That's
those go
cool.
into space and they're lost.
No, they,
For the
they
last
were,
month.
We'll never get comments. No, I'm just joking.
they were going to space, but they've sort of caught it in between, I think.
So
So,
the system, for another few weeks, I'd bring it over here in paper form.
We have a paper version.
I think they've got both. So
Because it's not here. I assure you, it's somewhere in the clouds.
Back up.
yeah.
All right. So why don't I go around? We'll let Charlie kind of do these comments from my right or my left before, and any comments on design aspects,
You all go first.
questions?
I think it's of the right scale, that's compatible with its neighbors. I don't mind having another gas station. This is a nice gas station, so I think it's a good design.
What we try to do is actually, like I said, I do a few of these. And I think we try to deconstruct that whole idea that a convenience store or a gas station has to be not up to a certain standard in design. It doesn't, it's just got to be a run-of-the-mill kind of thing. Every time I get a client who comes to me for this kind of project, and I tell them I will only engage in that project if they want to do something nice. I myself don't want to do something which would be your typical, run-of-the-mill kind of thing. And if they agree, then I engage with that project. In this case, the whole idea was to kind of break that monotony that this kind of building typology has to be insignificant, bad, not up to a certain standard. So I think we've attempted to do that. I am mindful that most of these owners are small businessmen, and they're always, looking at the bottom line in terms of capital expense. So we were mindful of that, but at the same time, I was quite adamant with the owner that we need to follow a certain design standard, particularly going into Milton, because I see what is happening in the city, and being an architect myself, I appreciate that, and I want to be part of that. So that was the whole approach to this design work.
When I get to my comments, I do want you to know that we met for 2 hours. So anything I'm saying, I've discussed with Robin, Shuba, and Bob in a 2-hour meeting yesterday, and they now agree with my comments. I wanted to make sure, because I have numerous, nothing giant, but a lot of improvements here. And so you've worked with staff well, they said that, but we all met yesterday. So as I talk about my comments, we're all in support, staff and Bob, of what we're going to ask you to do.
Well, why don't you go
Yeah,
ahead,
you can
and
go
then
ahead.
we'll chime in if we have any additional ones.
All right, we'll cover these in, because you got a great book and it's easy to jump around. Let's talk about the retail building.
Do I write these down, or will I get this minutes? Okay, I'll get them notes. Thank you.
Okay. First, on all the buildings, especially the gas pump building, the gutters can't hang down this far and go over. It looks like it was an afterthought or a tenement housing thing. These gutters need to be on the pumps. They need to be internal to that roof back to the column, and then they can come down the column. Notice they're hanging, if we're looking at scale, 18 inches below the roof, and then the gutters over on the retail building are also out from the face of the building and hanging down a foot or two, 18 inches, before they turn and go back over to the building. So I'd like to see these gutters pulled in against the buildings, and on the pumps, since there's so many out there long, I'd like those internal to the roof till they get to the post and then come out, instead of this low-hanging gutter that's coming from, downspout, from the gutter over to the columns.
Okay.
On the gas pumps, the roof looks very spindly and like it could fall over because the columns are too close inward. And I'd like you to move these columns out closer to the roof line, which is more architecturally appropriate. You with me on that?
Yes. Primarily, you want to space the columns little.
They need to sit out here like they're
Sure.
really structurally holding up the building and be, you're the architect, a foot, 18 inches roof overhang in front of the column and not against the pumps where it looks like this thing could tilt over any minute. You with me?
Sure.
So that's the gutters. And I don't want to see all that air under the gutters, and that's just letting your eyes see those gutters. I'm sorry, downspouts. Downspouts. And then if you move the columns out, and when we get done with all this, you don't need to come back to see us. Staff needs to approve these comments. And if Bob and Shuba and Robin they know what we want to do here, they can approve it, and then you don't have to come back.
Fine. I continue to be nice to them, and
They're too nice. They're so nice and helpful.
they are, and I want to acknowledge that if somebody is noting this thing and recording this thing, then please do that.
Well, in January, they're going to tough guy school. And
No, if you were in a meeting today, you wouldn't agree that we're so nice, so.
all right, so I only see the good side. But they can approve these, that you have drawn these properly in your final drawings. So you don't have to come back here. So that, you understand the gutter on the gas pumps goes, or the downspout into the roof area.
Sure, yeah.
And then when it can come out at the post and the brick column and come down. And then the post, we've talked about that. We would like to see, these are all my comments. Your brick water table is drawn at about a foot.
Yes.
We'd like to see that 2 feet or under the window. I want to see more brick at that foundation, as if it is a real sitting on a crawl space. And you wouldn't have had a 1 foot crawl space in the old days. You want to get up above the bugs and the water and the rain, and that crawl space would have been more 2 feet.
We were mimicking the building in a way, what was there, but I'm happy to do that. I would prefer that myself. I think at one time we may have had it higher and then we brought it down, but at 2 feet is I think we'd be happy.
2 feet or under the window. We don't
Under
want
the
the
window, okay.
windows getting into the, historically, architecturally, that crawl space would have been built, framed on, and the windows would have been above it.
Above that, yeah.
So we don't want the brick and the windows into that. And you got big, beautiful windows, so I don't want to affect those. I just want to raise that water table. And I would ask you to get rid of the lower band. So you've got a band above the windows and below it. So it's kind of this banding thing that is 70s architecture on wood-sided buildings. Getting rid of the lower band, raising the water table to under the window, gets
Okay.
rid of that band. And then you just got one band up
Are you
higher.
happy with the top band then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that works. And you've got, if those are 8 or 9 foot sheets, you've got a seam there anyway, and that upper
Yeah.
band needs to cover the seam
Yes.
where the siding is fitting there. So that's the water table. Then if you turn the page, let's go through here and do all the retail first. Let's see here, raise the water table, we've covered that. The muttons at the doors. If you look at one of the bigger blow-ups of the retail, and I understand that's a storefront, 3 or 4 pages in, you see the retail, the muttons in the windows are one period of architecture and spacing, and then the muttons at the entry become these long, thin muttons, and they're not consistent with the windows, and I'd like to see that consistent.
Are you on C-Store view?
Yeah, that's what.
C-store view.
This is not the retail. This is this is the retail, not the office.
I'm sorry, I'm on the C-store.
You're on the
I
C-store, yeah, it's on the
apologize, yeah.
C-store.
We're doing the C-store, sorry. So we're doing the C-store, and I call it retail, pavilion, and office, but that's really not right. But you see the buttons I'm talking about there at the
Yeah,
entry?
you're talking about the,
Here's your windows.
yeah,
Certain spacing on all those buttons. And you get over to here, and they're not the same spacing. They're a long, thin before you get to the button.
are you happy with the ones on the window?
The windows are great.
Okay, and then we'll mimic them on the storefront, sort of.
And then we're good, which also then is mimicked in your doors. So the doors and the windows are fine. It's these two odd shaped pieces on the storefront on either side of the doors. You with me on that?
Yes, sure.
Okay. And the same story on the downspouts. If you look at this C-store view, you see how those gutters or downspouts are coming down 18 inches before they're 45ing over to the wall. And I want those to come down and immediately get turned back. And let's get them on down and not have them hanging down there so you see them. And then I would also add to this, Shuba, that the all downspouts should match the paint color of the building. They should be painted to match the color of the building.
Not the color of the roof?
No,
Galvanized.
no, let's paint them out and make them go away.
Okay,
If you just always match the material they're sitting on. I just did my barn, and if it's on white trim, the gutters are white. When it goes over to the red barn, they're painted red.
okay.
We want gutters, downspouts to go
To
away.
be, to sort of, yeah.
They should be
Looks like they're on
painted.
brick.
Some of these are on the brick and some are on the building. So the ones on the brick should be,
Painted the brick color.
and then
Okay.
ones on the building color.
So you would get this sort of two colors on a downspout and you're okay with, okay.
What's on the soffit,
Yeah.
or right under the roof is that color, what they're sitting
Right.
on, and then
the
whatever
bottom
they're sitting
batten
on
and
the
the brick.
wall.
Okay,
And like Laura says, on the brick, they become a taupey, brown tan color as close as you can get to match the surface they're sitting on.
And then also on the wood framing, those need to blend in with the wood, just a brownish color, because you've got on the retail building view, you've got some on the wood here too, that are on the posts.
The pavilion.
Retail
I
building
think the retail and the
view
C-store.
and the pavilion, yeah.
That applies everywhere. If the downspouts can be painted the color of the surface they're sitting on,
perfect.
make them go away. Then we're not accenting those. What is your situation? We see no light fixtures on any of these buildings and no signage. So I would like to see some Milton light fixtures. So what's your thought on exterior light fixtures?
We were going to look at more as freestanding poles rather than put anything on the building itself.
All right, we'd like you to put some lights on
On
here.
on the building like wall sconces, but of a certain,
Well, Milton
yeah,
barn-like, because this is kind of taking on a barn-like
Neck.
look. Gooseneck. And those are $50 a piece. You architecturally maybe put them between every other window, every second window, wherever you want to put them. But
Okay.
we want to see some light fixtures. All these buildings had them in Milton 30, 50, 80, 100 years ago. Maybe they didn't have light fixtures 100 years ago. So whenever they started having them, we want them. And so you put them where you want them, but architecturally, they're like necklaces, jewelry. It's just sparkly and pretty. And probably black is the right color with your black windows, and it'll really pop and add more texture. And those are $50 a piece.
And we can match it to the window mullions and the window trim.
Yeah, the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And get us some cute light fixtures everywhere, and just adds more texture to these buildings.
Those were gonna be my two comments too, about the lighting and the signage, to see what does that look like.
I have a question about the gas pumps. I drive a big pickup truck, and I'm always mindful of the space.
Yes.
So if we widen the columns between the gas pumps, does that impede, when people want to like turn left, turn right, get out?
No, they don't. Usually there is at least a 10 to 12 feet overhang. And then we also run the software on these turning radiuses and all that.
Okay.
So we do that because a lot of people have these big pickup trucks, and even the space between the pumps, the horizontal spaces, center to center is at least 28 feet. So you can usually have two big trucks parked next to each other, and you still have enough space to open doors and things like that.
Okay.
But yes, but we do run a software where when we do the drawings,
Measure it.
where it checks the turning radiuses and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
And no bollards were needed at the pumps?
It depends. Some companies want bollards, some don't. It depends on the branding of the gas station.
Okay.
But I think when you don't have a platform, when you don't have a raised platform, then you do bollards.
Gotcha.
Nowadays, many companies are doing away with the platform and doing bollards, basically. So it just depends.
Okay. And these are on platforms, those pumps?
I think in this case, we might do away with the platform just to give it a more flat look and do bollards, basically.
Okay.
So.
Said two things. Are you done?
No, I got 10 more, but
Oh,
you go ahead.
no.
You guys, as we go, you go ahead.
Mine are pretty easy.
Go ahead.
The pavilion is the main, you just want people to eat lunch there, enjoy that.
Oh,
It's just
yes,
kind of the
yeah, it's
amenity
just
of
an
the-
open space, community space. Some people can come and sit there and things like that.
I was just thinking, it's so nice to have, the fireplace on the end of the building dresses it up, certainly.
Yeah.
I assume that's the side of the building you see.
One
the
of our
most from
older
the road.
designs did have a fireplace, and then we
Well, I love the fireplace. The fireplace on the gas station throws me off a bit, but I like the fireplace idea.
Right.
Having it in the pavilion could dress that area up quite a bit. Maybe enhance that amenity. That's just a thought. And then you do have, and this is more just like maybe a fun thing, but maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. When you separate those columns in between the pumps, spread those out, as Charlie said, which I think is a good idea. You have some sort of a material in between there. Maybe it's a concrete, maybe it's just a spacer, but there is a material above those pumps. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's concrete. I don't know, but maybe having some sort of a fun black and white Milton photos. They do such a good job of the photos out here in the foyer. I don't know. It was just a use of space, but again, I don't know what that material is. I don't know if you can do that or not, or if that would even weather well over time.
you're saying above the pumps?
There is some sort of a band
Going in
above the
between
pump.
the columns, I see.
There's just like a divider, a separator.
Yeah, we thought we would, it's just kind of so that it's not a complete blank space sort of. So we just put in something and that could be used in the future for signage or any kind of.
Well, that was sort of
or
my
we can-
concern. And I think it could be a benefit, but yeah, will you have signage there? And if you did, I guess you can, right?
The signage on the canopy is what we have shown right now. Just two sort of logos at the two ends. Now, like I said,
we're approving this based on that not being any more signage than what you're showing.
Right, yeah.
We wouldn't want any signage. We don't want to know what gas is a gallon or any clutter out there on signage.
No, not on, it wouldn't be on the canopy, but we may have a signage at the entrance.
Right, yeah, you're allowed to have a
Yeah.
entrance sign, so.
Yeah, a monument sign, what they call a monument
Yeah,
sign.
oh yeah, this isn't about your monument.
Yeah,
sign.
Right.
yeah. at
It's
the
what's on
entrance.
the architecturally on the building.
Not on the building, yeah.
All right? You done with your,
I'm done.
let me talk, he's on Pavilion, so could you let me hand you this? Let me give you a picture of something. I'm going to ask you on the Pavilion, I'm on Open Pavilion, the picture that shows the ends. Pavilion's really cute and really great. I'm going to ask you to put a hip roof on the end of it and close it in. Helps keep a lot of wind and rain out of there. It won't rot and deteriorate as fast up in that structure. And we just think it looks better to close it up. We think the pavilion's really cute. This is an example of something that's been done in Milton. So if you'll just put those ends on your building.
Our idea was to kind of, expose this and, show this because that's a detail, it's a nice detail to look at.
We don't want it.
You don't want it?
We want to close up that end.
Okay.
It'll make the building more usable, like Reed was saying, if people were, it was a kind of rainy day, but it wasn't raining too hard or wind too, it'll blow in there on the tables or whatever's down there. We think the pavilion's a big, nice neighborhood thing, and we just like to close that end up. And I've been over this with Bob, he's in agreement.
Okay, so you want to close the shorter ends, okay.
Both ends, get a little hip roof there, and we think that just works better for this building. Robin, you guys want a copy of this to put in the file?
Sure.
It just shows us an end that we've said we would do. And then I would like to know, I'm a builder, so I'm reading green grass in front of the pavilion and red Georgia clay is the floor. What is the floor in this building?
We were looking at polished concrete.
Stained?
Stained concrete, yeah.
Let's say that the floor will be polished, stained concrete in a brown or tan, not gray.
Not gray, yeah.
We don't want to see a gray slab sitting here.
Won't that make it slick once it gets wet?
No, it won't, I mean,
Yeah, she's right. It'll get really slick.
No, I mean, but I think if you leave it to a certain, I mean, it's not going to be, I think if you stain it and leave it with a little bit of rough finish for the
If you-
concrete,
if you
very mild
stain
rough.
it, but not, don't polish it.
No, we
Just
won't
stain
polish it. I
Yeah,
mean,
just
when I say
stain
polish,
it.
I mean, I meant stained concrete, so that it's ingrained, the color.
That was a good catch. So it's
If you
stained.
paint it, it's going to come off after some time.
That's
Stained,
only.
not polished. But it's a concrete slab and it's stained a tan color consistent with the wood
Yeah,
structure.
we didn't want to do a gray finish. I mean, that's what you're seeing on that.
Okay, super. Let's see, since we're on the pavilion. Talk to me about, the columns are 8x8s. I would like to see the bases,
More
at
white.
least 18 or 24 square. The
Okay.
bases are too spindly for this structure.
For the pavilion, you're talking about the pavilion, right?
I'm talking about the base on the columns, the
Yeah.
brick base.
Yeah.
Pavilion.
On the pavilion, I'm
On the-
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we're
Sure,
staying on the
okay.
pavilion. So what do you think? Are those,
I think 18 should be good, 24 maybe a bit.
don't disagree. I'm good with 18-inch bases. So we get a proportion and some mass around those 8x8 columns. Pavilion. Okay, so that's everything on the pavilion. Anybody else have any pavilion comments?
Good idea on the pavilion. Great amenity.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of people just being out in the parking lot or sitting down on the curb, eating their lunch.
Now, the fireplace, is that something, because like I said in an earlier design, if you go back and look at it, we did have a fireplace. And then the owner wanted to kind of take that off.
I'm good with no fireplace and you're spending money you don't have.
Yeah.
So
That's,
I'm
that's,
good.
that was the reason and they just didn't. So
I figured if
I,
you're gonna spend it on the house, on the main structure,
Pull it
maybe
over
it would be
to
better
the
on the other one, but it really was just kind of an open discussion.
Okay.
It's not set in
All right, let's go to the retail store elevations. And remembering what Reed said about how neat the pavilion is, we agree with all that. We would like you to take off, anything I say, there's 6 other votes here, and they can override me, which they have done numerous times. So remember, if I say it, they may override it at any moment.
I'll let
Especially
you
the
guys-
quiet one on the end down there. She suddenly strikes like lightning
No, I
and
don't.
overrides Charlie. So knowing that could happen at any moment. So we would like you to get rid of, we love the, and this was Bob's original idea. We love the little retail building, the pavilion, and the C-store. It adds character instead of just a gas station.
right.
I would like you to take off that little 10 by 10 deck, save the money, go to retail store 3D views, and you'll see this little retail, or this little 10 by 10
Yeah.
deck that has no doors to it.
Yeah, it's just an open kind of.
Yeah, let's save that money. And we're on record that we're saving him money as we spend his money. So let's take that off. And when they come out of your C-store with food or something, get them to go over to the pavilion and use it. And let's get more landscape along this building. Okay? Save that money because we've already got columns and stuff sitting there, and 8 or 10 feet away is the pavilion. Let's highlight the pavilion, get some more plantings down through here, and not have this building have this odd thing on the side of it.
really agree with that. I didn't notice it didn't have doors, but
And it's just going to have some trash and dirt and who knows what's up there. Let's get them tucked under the pavilion. So that goes away. And then if we can, but what we'd like you to do when that goes away, if everybody turns to retail store 3D views that show the other side of the building, you have a little gable roof there over 3 windows. We would like you to match that detail where we just took off the little gable roof over the 10 by 10 patio so that we get that feature just like the other side of the building.
is it odd that they don't have 2 gable roofs on that side, or is it just, is that fine? I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
The patio.
Yeah, I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
I wanted 2 too. Bob overrode me on that and said 1's enough. And he felt like with the shed roof on the front, it was fine, so he overrode me on that too.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, okay, so do this, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we'll just take off the deck and then leave that roof there, okay?
So we removed the outdoor seating 10 by 10, and we're going to match the roof line where that was removed with what
On the other
the
side.
detail that you have on the other side. Okay? Then I have a catch-all here in some of your drawings. If we can stay, actually, we can stay on the retail building, the 3D views we're just looking at. We do not want, I don't want you to use any bumper blocks. I want to see curbs in this property. Bumper
Okay.
blocks are 70s and 80s. They're cheap gas stations. They get broken off, especially the size of trucks and truck tires. And you've got some curbing in the property, but you got a bunch of bumper blocks. No bumper blocks. Your LDP needs to show all curb everywhere. And if you all look at this, you'll see those bumper blocks that are staked in the ground, and they break loose and they're just a mess. And then no matter how good your operator is, he will never spend any money fixing those. And I've done a lot of retail for 50 years. And I used a lot of bumper blocks because it's cheaper than curb. But I moved to Milton, not only bumper blocks in Milton. That was funny. We didn't get any laughter on that.
No, I see what you're saying.
So tacky, but since I'm not going back to Gwinnett, what we did in Gwinnett, we don't do in Milton. Robin, right?
Okay.
So that took care of my curbs. So the entire project needs curbs throughout.
Are you going to have signage on the front of that building, the office building, where the bumper blocks are facing the building?
We were thinking of putting the signage, between this.
Or between the columns?
Well, we want you to decide, we want staff to see, and maybe staff, I'll be on a committee, or two of us can be, whoever we decide. But I'd like to see all these renderings with the light fixtures and any signage you want on these buildings. On the little building we're on now, the retail stores, there's 2 spaces in there. And up in that gable, I don't want to see 2 signs.
Up in the gable. Yeah, no 2 signs. I was thinking maybe in between the cedar posts hanging down, just like we have around here, identifying the separate businesses, if that were.
That'd be very period architecture if those little signs were hanging down, as Reed said.
Mm-hmm.
The blade signs.
Yeah, blade signs.
Yeah. Good.
I'm good with one sign up in
Yeah,
the gate.
so they run perpendicular from the wall.
Or
Yeah.
whatever you call them.
Yeah.
So in the gable and the retail, I'm good with one, and you can go back in history and look at any of these old buildings in the period of time, the retail buildings. One sign up there would be fine, but you got 2 stores playing.
Right.
And I don't want to see one over here dying into the soffit and the gable trim. No 2 signs, one nice sign.
Okay.
But you figure out what you think you want to do, and let's plan for where these signs are going to go. Because your tenants are going to want signs. And you're going to come in here wanting to put them up, and we're not going to agree to it. So go ahead and pick where you want your signage.
All
Okay?
right.
And then we've got a little bit of a mutton issue again on this retail store. These mutton sizes, the storefront on either side of the doors don't match the doors, and they don't match the overall job. So we want all storefront and doors and windows to have the same mutton pattern. With me on that?
You want us to, are you okay with the doors?
I'm okay with the doors and the windows on the job. So it's this storefront on the side of the doors that are the problem.
Okay.
You pick any pattern that is of the period. Just Google this period and do a little bit of homework. Your windows meet the period. So that's all I care about, is it meet the period. And these storefronts don't. They don't meet your windows and they don't meet your doors. And that's on all the buildings. Or on the 2 buildings. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we got the bumper blocks. We need lighting and signage plan shown on these renderings. And you don't have to come back here. 1 or 2 of us can meet with staff and approve it. You get that done. So it gets done quickly. My last comment goes back to the C-store. And if we get one of the good pictures, the big pictures, C-store view. And we just went through this with 2 medical buildings. If you look at that view, I want something breaking up this roof line. It's way too long, way too low. I need something else to break it up.
Okay.
We want something down there. So going to our town architect, I asked him to solve the problem for me. and give me something there. Do you have that drawing Bob did? That sketch? Just because it's easier for you to see that picture we agreed on, then. Let me see if that's what we. Yes. So what, on the C-store, let me just,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
but what we want to do, show him that picture,
Oh, okay.
is the windows are fake anyway.
Yes.
So gather up 3 windows, and this detail is over on one of your other buildings. So gang 3 fake windows and put that above them to break up this roof line. Now, I wanted you to do the dormers, so tell your owner, per the intent plan, and Bob said that the owner really didn't want the dormers.
Yeah, because we don't have dormers anywhere else, and I think introducing them here
So let me
would,
move on.
sure.
So Bob pioneered that for you and convinced me no dormers. So our settlement on this was to do what we're showing you, to break up this long roof on both sides of this building. So gang up 3 windows, and you have that design somewhere.
On the other side, on the retail building.
Yeah, so that's what we decided that would make me happy and make you happy with no dormers. And I'm good with just doing something to break up that view. I'm looking for that.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, there it is on retail store elevations. You've got 3 windows with a night. And what Bob convinced me of is, Charlie, your dormers are just sitting up on the roof. His point is in this picture was that we're creating more wall by running the siding up, raising the height of the building.
Right.
And that architecturally that would be better than doing the dormers that were in your intent letter. So that needs to be on both sides of the C-store, which is your detail you already have. Bob also pointed out that would be, in fact, there's a great picture here, view from Chadwick Village, or view from Private Drive. And it shows this detail on the retail building, and it shows, so this is a great one for the team to see, this picture. So it shows this long roof line with nothing, but it shows this cute little piece over here on the retail. So we're going to add that over here. And instead of just boom, boom, window, 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 we'll gang up 3 windows back here and put that detail here and then put it on the other side.
Are you also recommending that little, looks like an outhouse? Also.
The outhouse is an outhouse.
Well, I
It's her
saw
outhouse,
that.
and I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it. I hated it, but they gotta have bathrooms.
I really don't need that outhouse. All we have is toilets in there.
Where would you move your toilets?
We have enough space inside to move the toilets. But this was some, Bob liked this, and Bob's my
If
friend,
it
so I'm not
had
going to
some
go
sort
and
of
not say anything against him.
Something to it, but
Well,
it
by
just-
getting rid of it, we also open up this space.
Space, yeah.
And we open up
Yeah.
the green between the pavilion and the C-store.
Yeah, I agree.
Flat on that side.
It's just gonna be an end of the building. Give me a few windows.
Few windows there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That'll look,
because we have enough space in the store to accommodate the
Super.
toilets.
We like it better, and
yeah, that's way better.
we like it better, and you save money.
You ever think about changing the paint colors between buildings?
Sorry?
Did you ever think about changing the paint colors between buildings to separate the buildings?
Well,
I mean, there's a
our
gas
first,
station, there's a
our first thought was to have, one of the buildings, a brick building, and then the other one with painted. But then right now, based on discussions with Bob, we did everything painted. I'd be happy to look at different paint colors if that's a recommendation.
My only thought was to differentiate the buildings. Best idea.
Well, let's talk about it. I think it's a good point. So do we want to do that? What do you think? You're the architect. How do we, and maybe we just make sure the pavilion's all stained wood.
Right.
So it's it's stained wood, which is the stained wood you have on all the buildings. Let's leave them all the same. I think then it's not a hodgepodge. The corner all becomes one thing. And the C-store flows into the retail store.
Sure. And the pavilion stands out with a different, with the stained look.
Yeah, it may lose it.
That's why I was thinking switch the trim and the, maybe. Have to see how it looks.
All right, so you got those little, you understand all the little gables you're putting on, one on either side of the C-store.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the outhouse, Laura, thank God you brought that up. I wasn't going to go there because Bob liked it. Hi, Bob.
That
If
was-
you're watching later, I'm sorry.
My one thing.
I'm not trying to
That
override the
was my
government.
thing.
So we VE'd about $150,000 out by getting rid of the outhouse, getting rid of the little porch on the other side, nixing the fireplace, we think, and what else did we get rid of?
The blocks, the parking blocks.
Parking blocks.
wheel
Bumper
stops,
blocks.
That'll
which are
cost
about
them
50
more,
bucks a
though.
piece. So yeah,
Thanks,
you're welcome.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, we didn't get rid of the fireplace though on the end of the C-store.
No, that's staying.
That's
That's
it.
staying, yeah.
We just were thinking, I think Reed was saying, maybe instead of having it there, put it over at the pavilion, maybe.
Well, you've certainly been delightful to work with. Thank you.
No,
This is
the
really going to
city
be a
has
very
been, the
nice.
staff have been phenomenal. I work with a lot of cities. I probably work with at least 10 or 15 counties and cities in Atlanta, if not more. And this was, I was hoping the process would go on more because then I could keep coming here more. So
Giving you
I
snacks? Are they giving you snacks?
I was happy that we got bumped off the last time. So I don't tell my owner that, don't tell my client that, but it was an absolute pleasure and it was a learning process for me too. So thank you very much to both of you and Bob. And this was a great session and the comments are welcome.
So we'll see if there's any more discussion from everyone, but based on all of these required changes, I would make a motion to approve with changes the Chadwick Village C-Store Retail Building and Pavilion at 13625 Arnold Mill Road as submitted with our changes that we've documented today.
Yeah, I would just have one to add to that is I think somebody from the DRB, whether that's you, Charlie, or somebody else, needs to probably do a review of that before final approval with Bob. Just make sure we got everything.
Our signs, our light
'Cause
fixtures.
There's a long list here.
So what I do is I don't give them a certificate until you guys have approved the action minutes. So
Yeah.
you will get to see in the action report
But
that.
I think what she's
Right, but I
saying
think
is she
the
wants
plan-
to see the different
drawings.
cut
I would-
sheets and different.
Yeah, I would just say,
examples of
let's have
everything.
Charlie look at the final review of the drawings, just to make sure
Okay,
it's all
we'll do
there.
that. And now hear me on the light fixtures. That's going to add a lot of cuteness
Sure, yeah.
and
yeah.
texture.
Yeah. No,
So
we'd be
the
happy
light
to.
fixtures, and then think about where you want signs so they're already approved location-wise.
Sure.
And it doesn't need to say anything, just
So
show
we'll
us
just show the sign, yeah.
where it's going to be. So can I get a second with the
Second.
addition?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This will be a trendsetter on
It's
what
gonna
we
look,
expect of
yeah,
people.
that's gonna
I
look
hope so.
great. That's.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Be
you.
a nice project. I'll go picnic over there myself.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I'm going to stop there. I'm going to drive all
Exactly.
the way to go to our nice little gas
I'll be over
station.
there. All right, so new business. We need to approve the 2022 DRB calendar. If you all can look at that. see if there's any modifications. So we have the change for spring break.
Yeah.
Any additions, changes, comments?
I'm looking at the July 4th one.
Yeah,
how
that's
that
always,
falls.
that's always a good one. See what date it is.
July 4th would be on a Monday.
Is it a Monday?
What would have to be?
Well, yeah, because that's
We're on
Tuesday. Yeah, that might be one. Yeah,
Let's push
that's,
that one.
Yeah,
yeah, that could,
4th of July, you mean?
the July
yeah.
one is on.
Right after 4th,
A
yeah,
lot of
maybe
people
do
take
the next
vacation that
week.
week. Sure.
Or
having a
do the
day off.
12th.
You'll have a
instead
hard
of the
time
5th.
getting quorum if you don't. So,
How do they do that, Robin? Because the room's used all the time by different boards.
I mean, I think sometimes, depends on the year, it might be in the middle of the week and, I mean, how it lays, but yeah, that's the day after. So if you guys want to push it a week, because a lot of people go away for the week,
yeah,
so that's fine.
okay. So,
Thing happens on Labor Day.
9/6.
In September is the day after that Monday, Labor Day.
same thing. Wow, all the dates are messed up this next year. What is wrong with that? All right, so we're going to switch July to the following week, and we're going to switch September to the following week.
Yeah, because you'll never it
You'll-
won't intercept with the BZA,
Well,
so.
yeah,
it's
because they're
usually
the
second Tuesday.
after
instead,
that,
yeah.
all right, okay. So I think that's it. Any other changes, looking at calendars?
Can I ask one that you may know or may not know that Reed brought up? We're having a get-together for the Milton Historical Society next Tuesday. And we invited lots of this board that were our members, some. And if we go to a nonprofit anytime, any get-together, is that a meeting or a quorum since it's?
So like my planning commission, we're doing dinner next Wednesday, so I already advertised it in the newspaper so it's been published for this week, for next week. That's to be very conservative, but I can check about it. I don't think you have to do a notice in the newspaper, but you may need to put a notice on your barn to say that this is, a meeting of, there's going to be DRB or whatever members, but it won't be any business discussed, blah, blah, blah. But I can get back with you guys about that.
Okay.
I don't think the newspaper is totally necessary. It's just like belts and suspenders, but I can check to see.
Oh, all year long at a Christmas party, because we go to stuff out here in the park, all of us. And so, but you brought it up, which I thought was a great point. If we all if more than 3 or 4 of us happen to show up at the same event.
I mean, if it's not like for us, we have a specific holiday dinner after the planning commission. So I've advertised it because it will
after the
definitely
planning
be a
commission.
quorum. But if it just happens to be, there are members of various boards that may make up a quorum, you just, it is what it is. It's life, right?
I would check because we had to go to that all-day Saturday event. Who remembers that?
I just remember that the whole attorney
deal out of that.
session.
Yeah,
I would just check.
I've been to that before.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to be careful.
All right, would you give me a call on that?
I would.
Because
Did you say tonight?
no, will you give me a call?
Right after this, we're going.
Yeah, Jeff's party is
No, I will.
next Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do that.
Jeff's historical
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas get-together for the Historical Society.
Yeah.
And plus, it's just a question for a lot of events where everybody goes.
Right. Exactly.
I didn't see it as a problem, but it's a good question.
Do we have to vote
There's
on the
2 of us
calendar?
You had to vote
already.
on the
Okay.
calendar.
All right, so we need to make a motion on the calendar changes for 2022 with changes for July and September to the following week. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2022 calendar with the exception of July 5th and 9 and September the 6th to be moved to the following week.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any old business? We're adjourned. Oh, go
But
ahead,
no,
sorry.
this can be happen after. Go ahead and adjourn.
Well, I'm going
Okay.
to make one comment. Thank you we had a meeting with Robin and Shuba and Peyton and Joe and the city manager after about 2 months ago about upgrading the presentations and not calling people and telling them their turn's coming up and some things we were doing for others. And that had bothered me. We had that meeting with everybody. We came to an agreement about policy, and y'all are doing great. These presentations are just fantastic.
You had a cover page in there for most of the items, which is very helpful. Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for that.
Yeah,
So-
it looks, yes, thank you.
Thank you for,
It's very helpful and we look at all of it. So
It's-
we appreciate it.
it's tough to get those guys to turn it in. I know it is. So it takes being good gatekeepers to get the level of stuff we want. It's more fun to work on these when you have a lot of great drawings and you can really see what it's going to be.
That it is.
And this may be my last one.
Mine too. That's what I was gonna say. This may be
So-
my last meeting, depending on what.
I was gonna ask who's gonna, is it anybody's last meeting for
I,
sure?
I haven't heard if I'm being replaced, but I don't know.
But I think they will attend the meeting until they will be replaced, right?
Well, if they're chosen by the representative, or if they switch, if people switch.
So here's a little insight. Have we adjourned?
No.
Not officially because you had one other item.
Oh, what's the one other item?
You just wanted to speak.
You just
and
wanted to
finished,
talk
I
about
think.
the meeting.
Oh, I just wanted them to know how well they're doing and public here, upgrading the quality of the submissions from the applicants really makes a difference. And you all, after our meeting 2 months ago, really upped the game. And then we're not postponing because they're not here yet. We're not calling them and all the things we discussed. And I appreciate that. And really loved all these drawings. So thank you. Recognize it's not easy to get developers to follow the rules, or even, I'm one of them, so
Instructions.
I'm talking about me too. I cut corners and, oh, do I have to bring you that? And can't I just email it to you? So we're problem kids.
See, but you put the hammer down.
So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Shuba.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
You said you were. You did.
That's the Chadwick Village was late last time and I said, nope, I cannot let you go.
I have one last thing to say. I was going to bring this up. I'd love to just walk the city with everybody. I mean, we talk about building heights, and we all have different perspectives of the way our city looks, and we sit in here in this room and don't look at it. And I'd love to get some of your other perspectives. I just think that'd be a healthy. So if anybody's up for that, I would love to walk our city together soon.
And I think that's a great idea. Some of the other boards do get-togethers, and we can do whatever we have to do to go out and do that and go see some things built. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And walk Highway 9 to see how it can be reimagined. Because hopefully that's going to happen
Charlie's right. I mean,
soon.
there's that whole library side. Everything's come up in front of us, and if they come up quick, and you got to make quick little decisions. And
Well, and we know the house that we turned down the demo on is coming back at us. And now he's bought where Tim's office was. And so we know all of that side of the street's about to come to us.
I
on
thought
the
a
si-
dentist bought, what happened there?
That fell through. She didn't get her money and it fell
Oh,
through.
darn
And
it.
he's bought it, closed on it. And he wants to tear all that down.
Yeah, that's not
And
happening.
maybe on that street where the height is, there's height behind it and other commercial. But we need to look at an aerial and think about on the other side where the library is, what's over behind that height? You know, is that single family or going to be townhomes or what's happening on the other side.
Mm.
And after a few years, you begin to go, oh, what's this going to ripple out to do next door? Who's going to come in for what next because of this? So we all should hug because we all have changes coming. I think maybe, well, I was a Peyton appointee and he's leaving and becoming mayor. And who's appointed? You're Carol. Carol, you're set. You'll be back.
Joe Longoria, and he's termed out. He's done. So,
Peyton invited me. I'm going to respectfully decline focusing more on Historical Society and another project.
So I knew he was going to call you yesterday. So you declined?
Yeah.
So you're leaving us. We do need to hug you.
and
So-
actually, I was asked to also stay on the DRB, but I have been on the DRB for quite a while, and I did decline. I will help as a citizen from the behind the chair. So when stuff comes at Highway 9, I'll be in there putting my 2 cents in.
But there's a possibility you could be going to ZB or to Planning Commission.
Yeah, I gave them they asked me what I would do if I still wanted to volunteer, and I gave them my options. Because I think there's a lot of good people on here who should also have the opportunity to lead. And I've been voted the chairperson for a while, and I appreciate all of you doing that. And I've enjoyed being up here. There's been a lot of changes that we've been able to make, and for the good. So, and we've got rid of some of the bad. And I think, as Laura said, there's a difference here, and it wouldn't happen without this board. I mean, without people who are here volunteering and care about each of the areas that they represent and that they know, to bring that viewpoint forward so that we can all understand the bigger picture. And that's, I think, what, I've been through 3 different versions of the board, and they've all been good versions. I mean, because prior to me coming on, there were some rough spots. I mean, I know from my other former board members, it was frustration. And so there's been a lot of changes that staff's made, that Bob's helped make, and that people serving on the board have been able to, take their perspective from their areas and really make a difference. And that's what your neighbors want you to do. You're speaking on their behalf. They can't be here. We've decided to be the volunteers for them, and they'll call you and give you their input, but they're looking for you to put it forward so that they get their perspective. And that's what we're here for.
At the last week at the 15th anniversary, what really struck me was what has made Milton great in just 15 years is the volunteerism and the community involvement. And we all have a shared, aligned interests, I believe.
Clearly.
And we got to be proud. 15 years, and we're here. One of the most enviable cities in the state.
People look at us nationally. I mean, so there's just a lot of good things that have come out of Milton. So we should all be really proud. And I know, working with some of the other board members on when we did the community planning, I mean, there was a lot of great stuff that came out of there from people who serve on other boards, who volunteer on other committees. You wouldn't get that without all the people that volunteer, and as well as those who serve on council and our staff. I mean, those things just don't happen. I don't see it in other cities. And I work in another city. I mean, my business is in another city, and I know most of the council members over there, and I think still Milton volunteerism is much higher than in other cities, clearly. And we should feel very lucky that people do care, because that's what it takes. So,
I've enjoyed
But
my
I've
time.
enjoyed serving with all of you. It's been great.
I would love to stay on, but I mean, because now it's changed, so we'll just have to wait and see.
You know, you'll be back.
You'll be here, carrying the torch.
Well, Carol, yeah, you'll be,
Who's your appointee?
is your spot, well, then
Oh,
you'll be
Paul.
back.
I'll be back
You'll be
Yeah.
here.
for a while, yeah.
I know for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how many decades have I done so far?
Guys, thank you.
Great meeting. Good year. Merry
Good idea,
Christmas,
everyone.
everybody.
You need to adjourn.
You guys need to adjourn.
You never made I don't think you made
He made the motion, but no one second.
Oh, yes.
We didn't close the loop.
We are officially adjourned.
Are we second?
Second.
I second.